Boxing experts in total panic after Jake Paul gets knocked out hard.
You're doing. Knock yourself out. I could care less.
Jake Paul, you are a disgrace of a man. You are the epitome of weakness. You are the scum.
Seriously, I'm being serious. I think there's absolutely no way he can beat a world champion.
Boxing experts are in full-blown panic mode after Jake Paul got KO'd hard. Just a few days ago, Jake was riding high after beating Mike Perry, thinking he was untouchable. He probably thought Mike Tyson or anyone else would be a piece of cake, but as we know, pride does come before a fall, and Jake just face-planted big time. Now he's probably hiding, trying to avoid the cameras he usually loves. The guy who couldn't stop trash-talking is now the one being trashed. And let me tell you, the boxing experts and pundits have roasted him so badly, it's almost a sport in itself. Honestly, the celebration in the boxing world kicked off the second the news broke that Jake Paul, our favorite YouTube sensation turned wannabe boxer, got knocked out hard in the first round. This wasn't just a loss, it was a brutal smackdown of reality for Paul, who'd been riding high on a wave of overconfidence. Leading up to this fight, Jake strutted into the ring with his signature smirk, convinced he was untouchable. And why wouldn't he be? He'd just beaten Mike Perry, a seasoned MMA fighter, and was feeling invincible. That victory, with Jake landing 63% of his power punches, had his ego through the roof. But overconfidence in the boxing ring is like bringing a water gun to a gunfight. Jake's bravado was on full display with his pre-fight trash talk, flaunting his wealth and showing off his training on social media. The hype was unreal, with his fans genuinely believing he could take on seasoned pros. His knockout ratio was an impressive 75%, and with over 20 million social media followers, he was feeling pretty invincible. But the seasoned boxing community wasn't buying it. They knew his lack of experience against real contenders was a ticking time bomb. When the fight started, the atmosphere was electric, anticipation hanging thick in the air. Jake's opponent wasn't messing around. In a jaw-dropping twist, a perfectly timed hook sent Jake sprawling to the mat, face first. It all happened in minutes. The crowd, buzzing with chants of "Jake, Jake" moments before, erupted in shock. How could this loudmouth social media star, who talked such a big game, fall so quickly? Initial reactions were a mix of shock and satisfaction. Jake's longtime critics saw this as the moment they'd been waiting for, proof that Jake was all bark and no bite. They pointed to his lack of real experience and the quality of his previous opponents, saying this was bound to happen. The stats backed them up. Despite his wins, Jake had never faced anyone with a knockout ratio as high as his latest opponent's 80%. This wasn't just a fight, it was a reality check delivered with a side of humble pie. As the dust settled, the implications of this knockout became clear. For Jake, it was a harsh reminder that the boxing world doesn't play by social media rules. His overconfidence, boosted by a few high-profile wins, led him to underestimate the grit of professional boxing. For the audience and the boxing community, it was a moment of clarity, a wake-up call about the dangers of hype overshadowing actual skill. Boxing experts, those seasoned veterans, started speaking out more boldly. They'd seen this coming from a mile away. Behind Jake's flashy persona and social media clout, they knew he was still a novice in a sport that demands respect, dedication, and years of hard work. Their reactions weren't just about this fight. They were about the bigger picture of celebrity boxing and the importance of genuine skill over showmanship. The first one to react was none other than Conor McGregor, the very man Jake called out after beating Mike Perry. Jake was so full of himself back then, thinking he could take on anyone, that Conor just couldn't resist delivering a brutal lesson. Jake Paul has always loved stirring the pot and grabbing headlines, and his antics towards Conor McGregor were no different. From day one, Jake aimed his provocations at big names to boost his visibility, and McGregor was a prime target. In December 2020, Jake issued a public challenge to Conor, dangling a $50 million purse. It was a calculated move to create buzz and elevate his status, knowing full well that McGregor's massive fan base would generate significant attention. Conor McGregor, never one to hold back, was crystal clear in his disdain for Jake. McGregor's message to young athletes was simple: don't aspire to be one of these YouTuber fighters. Aim for world titles and Olympic medals instead. He said, I'll say this to the young athletes coming up, men and women, don't aspire to be one of these YouTuber fighters. Aspire for world titles, aspire for Olympic medals.
And I'll say this to the young athletes coming up, men and women: don't aspire to be, one of these like YouTuber fighters.
Right.
Aspire for world titles. Aspire for Olympic. That is.
He was basically telling everyone that real fighters go for greatness, not fleeting internet fame. He ripped into the hollow nature of Jake's career, saying, doing these little smash and grab fights, you might get a few likes, but there's nothing substantial to it. It's hollow. It can be profitable, but it's hollow.
Doing these little smash and grab fights, you might get a few likes, but it's not. There's nothing substantial to it. It's hollow. It's hollow. It can be profitable, but it's hollow.
McGregor emphasized that true boxing is about meaningful achievements, not short-term gains or social media popularity. His words highlighted a deep belief in the integrity of the sport, a stark contrast to Jake's approach. But Jake, being Jake, didn't shy away from trash talk. His response to McGregor was as brash and disrespectful as ever. In a notorious video, Jake spewed, "What the dire is up, you Irish dire? Good morning, Conor McGregor. I know you're probably beating up old dudes in a bar right now, or maybe you're jacking off because you're sick of your wife. I mean, she's a 4, Conor. You could do a lot better, but happy Monday. My team sent you a $50 million offer."
What the fuck is up, you Irish cunt? Good morning, Conor McGregor. I know you're probably beating up old dudes in a bar right now, or maybe you're jacking off because you're sick of fucking your wife. I mean, she's a 4, Conor. You could do a lot better, but happy Monday. My team sent you a $50 million offer this morning.
The vulgarity and disrespect were off the charts. Jake's attack on McGregor's wife and personal life crossed many lines, showing a complete lack of respect and sportsmanship. McGregor's retort was swift and cutting, calling Jake a donkey.
You know, so, but he's a donkey. The guy's a donkey, yeah, do you reckon?
Jake laughed it off, saying, "I think Conor McGregor's funny as B. He's hilarious. When I watch him talk, about me, he's like, oh yeah, he's a bit windy, and he's a donkey." And I was just like, don't do that from Stog. I don't know, but I'm like, yeah, bro, but guess what, Conor? I'll beat the out of you.
I think Conor McGregor's funny as fuck.
He's hilarious.
Like when I watch him like talk shit about me, and he's like, "Oh yeah, the lad, he's a bit windy. He's a bit windy, and he's a fucking donkey." And I'm just like, dude, I don't know how to do, bro. But I'm like, yeah, bro, like yeah. But guess what, Conor? I'll beat the fucking fuck out of you, and you.
Jake's attempt to dismiss McGregor's insult only highlighted his overconfidence and lack of decorum. This saga between Jake Paul and Conor McGregor showcased the stark contrast between a seasoned fighter and a brash newcomer. McGregor, despite his own trash-talking history, built his career on significant accomplishments. As of 2021, McGregor held a professional MMA record of 22 wins and 6 losses, with notable victories against top fighters like Jose Aldo and Eddie Alvarez. He's a former UFC featherweight and lightweight champion, making him one of the sport's most accomplished fighters. Leading up to the highly anticipated fight between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, Dana White was all over it with his skepticism. He famously warned Tyson, telling him straight up that Jake Paul was juiced up on steroids and that his bravado was nothing but a front. White's exact words to Tyson were,
"Cheater, and I believe that you use steroids. So I want to randomly steroid test you for the next 2 years."
Dana White's track record in combat sports is almost flawless. His insights come from a deep understanding of the sport and an acute awareness of fighters' strengths and weaknesses. When White expressed concerns about Jake Paul, it was based on more than just personal disdain. It was rooted in his extensive knowledge and experience. White's authority is undisputed. He's overseen the UFC's rise from a fringe spectacle to a mainstream juggernaut, guiding it through countless controversies and challenges with an iron fist. When a reporter asked White about his thoughts on Jake Paul's knockout, his response was classically blunt. "Oh my God, don't even ask me about these idiots. Who gives a ticker? Does anybody give a cheed? I guess you do. No, I don't give a tea what they think. You think I care what Triller thinks? No. Are you sick and tired of mentioning it? I don't even take their calls."
My God, don't even ask me about these idiots. Who gives a shit? Does anybody give a shit?
I guess they
You do? No, I don't give a shit what they think. You think I care what Triller thinks?
No. Are you sick and tired of them mentioning UFC?
I don't even take their...
White's dismissal wasn't just a brush-off. It was a scathing indictment of the circus-like nature of celebrity boxing. His words reflect a deep frustration with the spectacle figures like Jake Paul bring to the sport. White's approach to Jake Paul and his ilk is rooted in a belief in the sanctity and seriousness of combat sports. For him, fighters like Paul, who prioritize showmanship over skill, undermine the integrity of the sport. In another instance, White's irritation was palpable when he said, "I don't give a crowers about you. Do your thing. Leave me alone. Go. Do whatever it is you're doing. Knock yourself out. I could care less. I have no interest in talking to any of those idiots."
Do your thing. Leave me alone. Go fucking do whatever it is you're doing. Knock yourself out. I could care less.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, I have no interest in talking to any of those.
The repeated use of the term idiots is telling. In White's book, an idiot isn't just someone who lacks brains. It's someone who disrespects the sport, who doesn't earn their place through hard work and dedication. For White, Paul epitomizes this kind of idiot. All talk, no substance. Take, for instance, De La Hoya's comment about Jake Paul. He's backed by a lot of money, obviously, and I think we should commend him. I think we should applaud him. Look, he wants to make the big fights. He's a huge fan, so why not? I'm all for it.
He's backed by a lot of money, obviously, and I think we should commend him. I think we should applaud him. Look, he wants to make the big fights. He's a huge fan, so why not? I'm all for it.
On the surface, it sounds like a compliment, but dig a little deeper, and it's clear De La Hoya was throwing some serious shade. To really get the sting of De La Hoya's words, you need to know the context. This isn't just any promoter talking. This is Oscar De La Hoya, a former 6th Division world champion. His words carry serious weight in the boxing world. When he speaks, it's with the authority of someone who's been at the top. As a promoter, he's responsible for guiding young talents to success. Yet, despite Jake Paul's youth and ability to draw a crowd, De La Hoya has consistently refrained from giving him any real support. De La Hoya's criticism doesn't stop at the bribery allegations. By saying Paul wants to make the big fights and is a huge fan, De La Hoya subtly undermines Paul's credibility. It's like he's saying, sure, Paul's enthusiastic and has the money to make things happen, but that doesn't make him a real boxer. Coming from someone who has dedicated his life to the sport, this is a significant critique. De La Hoya's point is clear. Money and enthusiasm don't equal genuine skill and dedication.